Welcome to the 5-Minute Prime Podcast. Quick, actionable tips to master personal finance and real estate investing. In just 5 minutes a day, we'll help you build wealth and achieve financial freedom. Hey, Prime investors, Martin Maxwell here. Welcome back to the 5-Minute Prime Podcast. I want to give you two numbers. Same city, same month. Both of them true. The first is $335,000. That's what a home is worth in Columbus, Ohio this June. The number that shows up in the headline, in the article your brother-in-law sent you, in the note where you're tracking how far off you are. The second is $278,939. That second number is the ceiling of the cheapest third of the same city. Not a fantasy, not a fixer in a flood zone, the top of the bottom third in the same month in the same metro. And the gap between those two numbers is a little over $56,000. So here's the question I actually want to leave you with today. The number you're saving toward, where did it come from? Because I'd bet it came from a median. And a median is a very specific thing that almost nobody says out loud. A median is a midpoint. That's the whole definition. Line up every home in a market from cheapest to most expensive, walk to the middle, and read the price tag. That's your median. Which means, and stay with me because this is the part that changes what you do tonight, half of that market is underneath it. By construction. Always. Not in a good year, not in a soft market. Always. A median that didn't have half the market below it would not be a median. Nobody ever chose $335,000 as a target. It isn't an asking price. It isn't a floor. It's a statistic that got treated like a price tag. And then a lot of people built a savings plan on top of it. Try it the other direction, and it gets obvious fast. If I told you the median age in a room was 41, you would never assume the youngest person there was 41. You'd assume roughly half the room was younger. Same number, same math, and for some reason, when it's houses, we stop doing that. We hear the middle, and we price the door. Now, the interesting part. The federal government already publishes the other half of this picture, and it has for decades. The Census Bureau puts out a table with the median home value for a given place. That's the one you've seen. That's where the headline comes from. But it also puts out a completely different table that reports home values in explicit dollar brackets. $750,000 to $999,000. $1 million to $1.5 million. All the way down. Same agency, same survey. One table gives you a midpoint. The other gives you the whole shape. And essentially every article you have ever read about home prices quoted the first one and behaved as though the second one didn't exist. So let's actually look at the shape. Columbus, this June. That metro has 117 zip codes with published values. Sort them by value, and here's what you get. The cheapest tenth sits around 185,000. The bottom third tops out at that 279 number. The middle third runs up to about 356,000. And the top tenth is around 460. Bottom to top, that's right about 2.5 times inside one metro under one headline number. Here's the one that got me. 28 of those 117 zip codes, call it 1 in 4, carry a value under $250,000. 16 of them are under $200,000. In the metro, everybody just told you cost $335,000. And this isn't a Columbus quirk. Run the same cut across the 100 largest metros in the country, and the middle one lands around $370,000. But the cheapest tenth of them sit around $249,000. The very cheapest of the big metros is under $200,000. The most expensive is over $1.5 million. That's an 8-fold spread across the same list of cities people describe with a single national average. The bottom band is also, not coincidentally, where a starter property actually lives. It's where most first purchases genuinely happen. And it's the band that gets deleted first when somebody screens on a midpoint. Now, we've made the case on this show before that the national number hides a regional split, that the U.S. housing market is a blend covering a Midwest that's holding and a Sunbelt that's soft, and that you should underwrite the metro, not the country. This is that same argument one floor down. The metro number is a blend too. It's hiding a split inside itself. And I want to be careful here because there's a wrong way to hear this. Bottom tier does not mean bad. It's a value band, not a verdict. Cheaper housing correlates with older stock, smaller square footage, further out from the center. Every one of those is something you go check. They're facts you underwrite. They are not reasons to skip a zip code you've never driven through. So, the check. 3 questions, and you can answer all 3 tonight for free without a lender, an agent, or a subscription. Question 1. Pick the market you've already decided you can't afford, the one you crossed off. What is its bottom tier ceiling? Not its median, the top of its cheapest third. Question 2. Is there anything in that band you'd actually be willing to live in or rent out? Go look. Not a spreadsheet exercise, a real look at real listings under that number. Question 3, and this is the one that moves the most money. What does your down payment become at that price instead of at the headline? 20% of the bottom tier ceiling versus 20% of the median is a difference of about $11,000 in cash you have to have on hand. That is usually bigger than anything another year of saving is going to do for you, which is the real point. Choosing which tier you're shopping in is the cheapest decision in this entire process, and most people never make it on purpose. It gets made by accident, the first time they read a headline and did the subtraction. And while you've got the calculator open, there's one more number worth checking. This one about you rather than the market. A lot of people rule themselves out of first-time buyer programs because they owned a place once, years ago. But that status isn't a once-in-a-lifetime label. It's a rolling test, whether you've had an ownership interest in a home you lived in during the 3 years ending on your purchase date. Sell in 2022, close in 2026, and that old house sits outside the window entirely. Owning a rental doesn't start that clock either, because the test is a home you lived in. I'm not going to walk you through the statute on a Monday morning. Your lender and your CPA do that part. But it takes about 10 minutes to find out, and it decides whether a whole set of low down payment doors is open or closed for you. So here's your challenge today. Take the one market you've already ruled out, find its bottom tier ceiling, the top of the cheapest third. Then find one single property under that number you'd genuinely be willing to own. And then the part that matters. If you find one, that's the number your savings target should have been built on all along, and you can go rebuild it around something real. If you find nothing you'd want, nothing you'd rent out, nothing you'd live in, then you've learned something true about that market, and you can stop wondering about it and go check the next one. Either way, you end tonight with an answer instead of a gap. That's a better place than where you started this morning. I'm Martin Maxwell. This has been the 5 Minute Prime Podcast. I'll see you next episode.